On the 9th of July, 1522, a ship that should not still be floating drops anchor off the Cape Verde Islands. There are 18 men aboard who can still stand. The hull is so eaten through that they are pumping day and night just to stay level with the sea. And they have a problem that has nothing to do with any of that. They send a boat ashore to buy rice, and while they are haggling, they ask, in passing, what day it is. The Portuguese on the beach tell them it is Thursday, the 10th. Now, aboard that ship is a man named Antonio Pigafetta, who has written down every single day of this voyage for 3 years, without missing one. Not one. He checks his book. His book says Wednesday, the 9th. Somewhere between Spain and this beach, in 3 years of sailing west, one day has gone missing out of a perfect record. Nobody aboard can explain it. And that missing day will turn out to be worth more than everything in the hold. This is the story of the first voyage around the world. And like everything on this channel, we are going to open it at the accounts page. Start with the deal, because the deal explains the deaths. Ferdinand Magellan is Portuguese. He has fought for Portugal in India and Morocco. He has been accused of trading with the enemy. He has asked his own king for a raise and been refused. And in 1517, he does the thing that makes him useful to us. He crosses the border and sells himself to Spain. What he sells is a claim. He says there is a passage through the bottom of the Americas, and that the Spice Islands lie close on the other side, inside the half of the world the Pope gave to Spain. Both halves of that claim are guesses. He has never seen the strait. Nobody has proven it exists. And the contract he signs is not a salary. He gets a 20th of the profits, governorship of any lands he finds, and a monopoly for 10 years. That matters because a man on a share does not turn back. 5 ships, around 270 men, a mixed crew of Spaniards, Portuguese, Italians, Greeks, and others. They leave Sanlucar on the 20th of September, 1519, with 2 years of provisions and a captain general the Spanish officers already suspect of working for Portugal. Follow the line south. Across the Atlantic, down the coast of Brazil, and then into the long gray funnel of Patagonia, looking for a gap in a coastline that does not want to have one. Every bay is a candidate. Every candidate is a dead end. By March 1520, they are further south than any European has been. It is getting colder. The days are getting shorter, and Magellan does the only sane thing and the most dangerous thing. He stops for the winter. He puts the crews on reduced rations in an empty harbor called Port San Julian, and on Easter Sunday, 3 of his 5 captains mutiny. This is the hinge of the whole voyage. The Spanish officers want to go home, or at least go back to warmer water, and they are not wrong on the attire. Magellan puts it down with a boarding party and a knife in a captain's throat, and then he holds a trial. One captain is beheaded and quartered. Another, along with a priest, is marooned on that beach when the fleet sails and is never heard of again. Roughly 40 men are condemned and then pardoned because he needs the hands. Remember that word, pardoned. One of the pardoned mutineers is a Basque master named Juan Sebastian Elcano. Hold that name. They lose a ship that winter, the Santiago, wrecked while scouting. And then, on the 21st of October, 1520, they find it, a gap in the coast that keeps going. It is not a channel so much as a maze, 370 miles of freezing water branching between black cliffs, with tides running the wrong way and dead ends that look exactly like the route. It takes them 38 days. 38 days of sending boats ahead to find out which arm of the water is the real one, in a place where a wrong turn costs a week and the weather can pin you against a rock wall. And in the middle of that maze, the largest ship in the fleet, the San Antonio, carrying a large share of the fleet's provisions, quietly turns around and sails home to Spain. Nobody chases her. She takes the food with her. So when Magellan finally comes out the western end on the 28th of November, into an ocean so calm he names it the Pacific, he is down from 5 ships to 3. He has lost the biggest store of supplies he had, and he is about to make the largest navigational error in the history of exploration. Here is the error. Magellan believes the Spice Islands are a short run from the strait, days, perhaps a few weeks. Everyone believes it because the maps of the age simply do not have room for what is actually there. What is actually there is the widest thing on the surface of the earth. They sail for 98 days without making landfall on anywhere that can feed them. And this is where the account stops being an adventure. Pigafetta wrote it down, so we do not have to guess. They ate biscuit that was no longer biscuit, but powder swarming with worms, and it stank of rat urine. They drank yellow water that had gone foul. They took the ox hides that padded the yards against the rigging, soaked them in the sea for days to soften them, grilled them, and ate them. They ate sawdust. And rats, when a man could catch one, sold for half a ducat, and there were not enough rats. Their gums swelled up over their teeth so they could not eat at all, and those men died of it. 19 died on that crossing. And in a detail that tells you everything about how empty that ocean was, Pigafetta notes they passed 2 uninhabited islets and found nothing on either. They called them the Unfortunate Islands. They make land in March 1521, and for a few weeks it goes extraordinarily well. Food, water, and then the Philippines, where Magellan does something no part of his contract asked him to do. At Cebu, he converts the local ruler and hundreds of his people to Christianity. He is not a missionary. He is a man on commission who has just discovered that he can hand out an empire's friendship, and to prove that friendship is worth having, he agrees to go and punish a chief on the next island who will not submit. That island is Mactan. The chief is Lapu-Lapu. On the 27th of April, 1521, Magellan takes about 49 men in armor against a force many times that size. He anchors the boats too far out for the guns to cover him and wades the last stretch through the shallows. They are met at the water's edge. He is hit in the leg with a poisoned arrow, then a spear in the face, then hacked down in knee-deep water while his own allies watch from the boats. The man who found the strait dies in a fight he was not sent to have, on an errand he invented, 400 miles short of the islands he came for. And then it gets worse. Days later, the Cebuano ruler he had converted invites the surviving officers to a banquet and has around 26 of them killed. The fleet runs. They are now so short of men that they cannot crew 3 ships, so they strip the Concepcion and burn her. 2 ships left, out of 5. They wander the islands for months, and they do finally reach the Spice Islands, and they do load the cloves. Then the Trinidad, the flagship, springs a leak so bad she cannot sail, and the decision is made to split. Trinidad will stay and repair and try to go back east across the Pacific. She fails, is captured by the Portuguese, and of her crew only 5 men ever see Spain again, years later, which leaves the Victoria, the smallest ship, under the command of the pardoned mutineer, Elcano. He does the thing nobody planned for. He takes a leaking ship loaded with cloves and runs it home the long way, west, straight through Portuguese waters, where capture means prison, refusing to stop for supplies because stopping means being taken. 20 more men die on that run. They are thrown over the side as they go. So, let us settle the accounts. Who paid, what did it cost, and what came back? Who paid is clear. The Spanish crown and a syndicate of financiers, the biggest of them, the Fugger-linked house of Cristobal de Haro, for something on the order of 8.5 million maravedis, all in, including the ships, the provisions, and the wages. What it cost is the cleanest and most horrifying number in this entire series. Around 270 men went. 18 came home on the Victoria. Add the 5 from the Trinidad who straggled back years later, and a handful who were left or deserted along the way, and you are still looking at a death rate above 80%. 5 ships out, 1 home, and the Captain General dead in the surf. What came back was 26 tons of cloves, 520 quintals, in 381 sacks, carried by 18 skeletal men in a ship that was sinking under them. That cargo sold in Seville for about 7,888,000 maravedis. Now hold those 2 numbers next to each other, because this is the part everyone gets wrong. You will very often hear that the cloves in that one little ship paid for the entire expedition. Look at the figures. The cargo fetched about 7.9 million. The expedition cost about 8.5. On the most commonly cited numbers, it did not quite cover it. It came in at roughly 9/10. Whether the voyage made money depends entirely on what you are willing to leave out of the column. Count only the hulls and the stores, and it profits. Count the wages and the dead, and it does not. 500 years later, the most famous voyage in human history still has a disputed balance sheet, and this channel is not going to pretend otherwise. But the cloves were never the return. Here is the return. When Pigafetta's calendar came up a day short at Cape Verde, that was not an error. That was the shape of the world showing up in a ledger. Sail west far enough, and the sun gives you back a day, and no accountant in Europe had ever had to write that down before. They had not just found a route, they had measured the planet by putting a rope around it, and the measurement arrived as a bookkeeping discrepancy. The cloves were worth about 8 million maravedis, and they were eaten and gone within the year. The missing day is still there, in every calendar, on every flight you have ever taken across the Pacific. The ledger did not balance, the correction did. Follow the traveler, follow the receipts. Tareekh ka Hisaab. Hisaab abhi baki hai.